Hi, I'm Keith McCafferty, the current board chair of the Community Foundation. On behalf of the Community Foundation's Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Foundation's 2021 annual celebration. Our theme this year is Resilience, an unforgettable 20th anniversary. We've all been through a lot over these last 16 months, and we've all been affected in many ways, both large and small. Thank you all for your resilience. So many of you have managed to find a way to donate your time, talent, or treasure over the course of this past year. Your resilience has enabled your Community Foundation to sustain and in many ways bolster its important day-to-day work. I want to send out a special thank you to the staff, George, Amy, Janet, Jesse, and Nancy, who have overcome so many new challenges during the past year. You have found new ways to persist and succeed. You are truly a resilient bunch. Your Community Foundation has remained very active throughout the pandemic, and we have lots to share with you today. Without further ado, here's George Ferrari, our CEO, who will guide you through today's celebration.
Hello, my name is George Ferrari, and I have had the honor of serving as CEO of your Community Foundation since August of 2005. I want to welcome you to our annual celebration, which we have called Resilience, an unforgettable 20th anniversary. We are so glad that you are here with us. Our latest annual report is now available on our website. Donors, we encourage you to take a look and to contact us by email, to schedule an appointment, to have a conversation about how we can meet your philanthropic needs. And prospective grantees, we always welcome your interest in sharing with us your work and how we might support your achievements with grants, information, and connections. Now, although 2020 represents the 20th anniversary of the Community Foundation, of course, the last 16 months have been most notable for the passion, the creativity, the endurance, and yes, indeed, the resilience we have each demonstrated in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. And all of this within a context of a major transformation and how so many of us are committing to taking action to seek greater social justice for centuries of long-standing issues of bone-crushing racism. In many ways, the challenges of 2020 are exactly what community foundations were created to address. You looked for ways to take action, and we gave you the means to combine your efforts with those of your neighbors to make a real difference. Our calling is to work with those who seek to create, nurture, and enhance communities of connection, belonging, justice, and prosperity with equitable opportunity and results for all. Community philanthropy is first and foremost about people, not transactions, not big checks of either gifts or grants, nor credit of recognition. We offer a different vision of philanthropy, embedded in the context of collaborative achievement, uplifting capacity, and fierce self-determination. We think of philanthropy as an expression of hope, which engages others in optimistic aspiration, that in as good or as bad as things are, we can make choices to make things even better. If we are to be true to our commitment to use diversity, equity, and inclusion as means to building and nurturing justice, we need everyone at the table, and that means from the start of the work, defining our challenges, through determining our methods, and all the way to learning from our accomplishments. When we broaden our understanding and celebration of the beautiful diversity of the many forms philanthropy can take, we invite everyone to experience the joys and sense of purpose of this work. During our time together today, you will hear from Community Foundation donors, collaborative funder partners, grantees, people in the governmental and financial services sector, board, and staff. I invite you to listen closely to how we have joined together to rethink how to better serve our communities in bold, nimble, and effective ways. Thanks to your support, all of these achievements are made possible. No matter what extraordinary circumstances or seemingly unyielding challenges the world throws at us, your amazing, deep caring, and optimistic hopes for our community always inspire us. Your generosity, creativity, and consistency cannot be quarantined or isolated from our community. Now, make sure to stay until the end of our time together, because after all of our speakers, we will share with you our new mission, values, and goals from our 21 to 24 strategic plan. You will be among the very first to learn how Community Foundation has journeyed into our own well of resilience to plan for next year's work in partnership with you. So, my call to action for you is to think about what role you feel drawn to play in philanthropy. It is an undertaking, an obligation, a great joy for each one of us. How do you manifest your love of humankind? In what ways do you want to build a better world for all? With whom will you work? How will you secure and expand racial justice so that we can all benefit? Take inventory of your time, talent, treasure, testimony, and ties. Create a strategy for how you wish to deploy your gifts. Now, you don't need to be perfect. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to convince anyone else of your path. But I suggest that your community needs you as much as you need your community. Your responses have the power of adding to our collective resilience and giving us all great hope. Thank you.
My name is James Hunter. I serve as the Chief Lending Officer for Alternatives Federal Credit Union in Ithaca, New York. We are a community development credit union with the mission of serving low and moderate income people and communities. As a CDCU, we are committed to providing access to safe financial services and education for underserved people. Alternatives and the Community Foundation of Tompkins County have a rich relationship that is laced in the spirit of people helping people. More recently, during the onset of COVID-19, we partnered to establish programs like the Small Business Resilience Fund and the Alternatives Federal Credit Union Community Assistance Loan Fund, two programs designed to give local businesses forgivable grants for their operating expenses and a 0% interest loan to organizations, nonprofits, and members of the community impacted by COVID-19. Resilience, by definition, is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or adversity. It's a toughness. I see resilience on display every day when people of the community come into alternatives seeking a vehicle loan, but have been told by other lenders that their rate will be upwards of 18 to 23%. Watch them go through our process, receive sound financial free counseling, and obtain a reliable vehicle at a fair rate. That's resilience. This is what gives me hope. James Baldwin said it best. Anyone who's ever struggled with poverty knows how expensive it is to be poor.
I'm Dr. Josie McAllister at the Dermatology Associates of Ithaca, and we're a Heroes Circle donor of the Community Foundation of Tompkins County. For me, resilience means holding on to love in the midst of trial. Love is patient, love always hopes in the best, and love trusts that strength will be provided when we need it. When the pandemic first hit, our dermatology office had no idea how we would survive. We had a large team to support and had just invested in a state-of-the-art facility at a time when patients were suddenly afraid to leave their homes, and we ourselves were petrified of bringing COVID back to our families. At my lowest point, I fell on my face before God and just put everything and everyone into His hands. He provided for us and He protected us. We continued to serve our patients safely, we never closed, and we fully supported all of the team members who wanted to work. In this time, with so many overwhelming needs in the Community Foundation was a godsend, as I knew that the funds we donated would support those truly in need, and that every dollar that is donated helps to build resilience and allow our most vulnerable community members to survive and thrive. Gradually, patients saw that skin cancers, moles, and rashes don't take a pause, and that they still needed medical care, which they could safely access through us. Our bodies adapted to wearing masks all day long, and our team found ways to work closely together while staying physically distanced in our new facility. I'm grateful for all that we learned, for the community that supported us and were willing to sacrifice social gatherings for a time and receive vaccination to keep everyone safe, and for a light at the end of this unexpected tunnel that brought us closer and taught us that when all else seems hopeless, love never fails. We hold on to love as it guides us, strengthens us, opens our hearts to the needs of those around us, and carries us out of the darkness back into the light.
Thank you for joining us at the Community Foundation's annual celebration. I'm Nancy Masici, Chief Development Officer. I have the privilege of announcing and recognizing a few community members. In 2020, the Community Foundation established its Door Opener Society to recognize professional advisors whose contributions to philanthropic estate planning have been significant, substantial, and longstanding. These trusted advisors are attorneys, accountants, insurance agents, brokers, financial and estate advisors, or trust officers. Door Opener Society awards honor outstanding partners with the Community Foundation in the promotion of philanthropy in our region. Life's most extraordinary accomplishments are very rarely ever achieved alone, which is why the Community Foundation wants to recognize the following advisors who helped clients achieve their charitable goals through an outright gift, giving to, or creating a fund or bequest. Our 2021 recipients are Mariette Geldenhuis and Anna Holmberg. These two attorneys received notification of their recognition in January of 2021 at our annual advisor breakfast and recently received their plaques. Door Opener Society members provide a valuable service to their clients and to the people of Tompkins County. Advisors provide a channel to their clients who want to plan gifts to our community. These donors chose where to earmark their resources. Examples of resources received include the Helen Bear Estate to make an impact on basic needs. The Resilience and Possibilities Endowment Fund helps people, especially men, in various difficult situations, such as health, food security, housing, and opportunities. Ms. Bear's fund also provides advocacy for vulnerable and at-risk populations while fostering and promoting resiliencies. Established in 2019, this fund responds well to meeting local pandemic needs today, but also tomorrow. The Laurie Conrad Music and Arts Fund provides grants in support of classical music and ballet instruction and performance, and documentary filmmaking for social justice causes. Laurie was a talented musician, artist, and writer. She chose the purposes of the fund, which reflect her lifelong passion for the arts. Thank you to all advisors who design, craft, and customize their financial objectives to include charitable giving. Join me in congratulating 2021 Door Opener Society honorees Mariette Geldenhuis and Anna Holmberg.
I'm Gail Belliker, Chief Administrative Officer with United Way of Tompkins County. It has been my great pleasure to collaborate with Community Foundation of Tompkins County and other local funders during this past year as we all as a community face the challenges brought on by COVID-19. In our virtual meetings, which were held weekly at first, now bi-weekly, we have taken on many local challenges, and we have explored ways to meet those challenges by pooling our resources and finding solutions. From getting people food who normally would be able to go out on their own, but are housebound due to being quarantined or isolated while being ill, to helping agencies figure out how to keep meeting the needs of the community while keeping everyone safe, including their frontline workers. The funders group sought to move away from working in silos to fierce collaboration. And over, we were struck by the generosity of this community, by the innovation, by the determined effort to not just survive, but to find ways, especially as we come out of this time, to thrive. And to me, that all sums up in the word resilience. And as we have moved out of the pandemic, I've noticed that people are really focused on the lessons learned. The Community Foundation, United Way, and the other funders are asking ourselves, what have we learned? How can we do things differently for the better moving forward? Again, to me, this is a key aspect of being resilient, is to bounce back in a way that leaves us stronger than when we began. And the fact that so many people are coming together and are so determined to achieve that level of resilience is something that gives me great hope. I'd like to congratulate the Community Foundation for their year. It's been a pleasure to partner with you, and I'm really excited about the things that we will do as a community, as funders pulling together as we move forward. Congratulations.
My name's Tom Knipe. I serve as the Director of Economic Development for the City of Ithaca. During the past year, many local small businesses, particularly retail, entertainment, and hospitality businesses, suffered huge revenue losses and other challenges as a result of the pandemic. Our local small business owners are such an important part of our local economy. They create jobs, provide opportunities for local wealth creation, and participate in the life of our community. So it's been a priority of ours to retain as many locally owned small businesses as possible. Early on, during the COVID crisis, with our partners, we established a local small business resilience fund, which supported 117 local small businesses with forgivable loans. As we started to recover last summer, we were hearing from a number of folks that there was a need for additional local recovery funding beyond what was being provided by the state and federal governments. So we came up with another local program to support the recovery of what we called anchor storefront businesses, those businesses that help drive activity in their neighborhood and which would be difficult to replace if they were to close permanently. We were in conversation with the Community Foundation about our efforts to support local small businesses through this Anchor Storefront Recovery Fund. The foundation engaged interested investors with their philanthropic consulting services, and individuals then made private determinations about how to use their resources to support the fund's intended outcomes. In all, we raised over $350,000 in private funding and to date have made low-interest recovery loans to 10 local storefront businesses. The Community Foundation showed tremendous creativity and resourcefulness with this initiative. They saw an opportunity to leverage their philanthropic network to do something important for the community that was outside of their typical funding models. Local business owners have obviously shown resilience in the face of unprecedented hardship during the past year. I'm inspired by their creativity and resourcefulness. I think we can also see resilience in the way that the economic development and funding communities have come together and collaborated in new ways. I'm hopeful because I think that we've demonstrated collectively that we can be more collaborative and more creative in working together to improve our community. Economic development and philanthropy are both about improving livelihoods, although usually through different approaches. I'm excited to see what other opportunities for collaboration may emerge as we stay in dialogue about how to best support an equitable local economic recovery.
The pandemic has presented us with challenges that we have never seen before. Young families, older adults, and students have been hit hard by its effects, while communities of color and low-income families have been disproportionately impacted. The challenges ahead are great. Fortunately, we have a robust and thriving mission-driven sector whose passion, creativity, and hard work this past year should not be understated. We recently asked many of our grantees what they are most proud of this past year. They were eager to share examples and to testify to the persevering commitment of their staff as they adjusted to home working environments, emerging needs and settings with little precedent or procedures, and the relentless virtual environments of Zoom. Here are some things to celebrate from the past year. When the pandemic hit, the village at Ithaca surveyed their families to assess emerging needs. In response, they partnered with the Friendship Donations Network to distribute food and household items. When middle and high school students went remote, they focused emergency funds on maintaining internet access for distance learning. And to meet increased demand for services, they expanded their village school program and hired program assistants, all local young people of color, serving as valuable mentors, advocates, and role models for their youth participants. Young families were hit particularly hard as they were forced to balance a disruption of childcare with virtual work. The Family Reading Partnership got creative in finding new ways to get books to families. They partnered with the Child Development Council, who gave books away with diapers during their baby supply drives. They also piggybacked on the elaborate food distribution network, spearheaded by the Food Task Force, providing books to food pantries for drive-up food distributions. The Department of Social Services distributed books to families in their network, and the Learning Web got books to their teen parents. Books were also distributed by No Mas Lagrimas, rural grocery stores, pre-K programs, and Tompkins Community Action's Head Start programs. Our rural communities also rose to the occasion in dynamic ways. While after-school programs shut down, the Caroline after-school program stayed open, shifting to virtual programming filled with fun, creativity, and continuity of friendships and connections. The Enfield Community Council has had a busy year planning for the opening of the Enfield Community Center. Their connection to rural youth services at Cornell Cooperative Extension has provided a wide range of programming, such as career exploration, outdoor experiential learning, community helpers, video production, and dog training, with a host of new programming in the months to come. At the other end of the age spectrum, Love Living at Home provided valuable support for older adults to schedule and access testing and medical appointments, and later information, scheduling assistance, and transportation support for vaccinations. There's a little reminder of just how fast things have changed. In 2020, FoodNet Meals on Wheels served over 193,000 meals to older adults, talking through windows and finding creative drop-off methods to keep participants safe. In the absence of the personal check-ins, over 25 volunteers, mostly college students, were engaged to make regular phone calls to check on safety and general health. And as the pandemic progressed, FoodNet Meals on Wheels even began delivering meals to individuals and sometimes whole families who had been quarantined and were food insecure, a great example of how collaborating organizations identified and addressed emerging needs throughout the pandemic. Housing. As the pandemic set in, Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services quickly transitioned its staff to remote work and began calling over 400 tenants to discern their needs. In response to these conversations and many others, they launched the COVID-19 Rental Assistance Program. This program remains available to Tompkins County renters and has provided more than $200,000 in direct rent relief to over 70 renter households facing income loss as a result of COVID-19. New programming is also emerging on Ithaca's West End. During the summer of 2020, in the midst of the George Floyd protests and as social justice movements swept the nation, Ithaca too had an awakening. Black Hands Universal was formed in response to racial injustice, and among other projects, they have worked with community partners to renovate the West Village Community Room to be a place for youth advocacy, AA meetings, GED prep, and a vibrant play space for children, and so much more. Additional BIPOC leaders and grassroots efforts are emerging, like the Unbroken Promises Initiative, engaging and empowering BIPOC residents to lift their voices and inspire a greater sense of agency. UPI is building a strong sense of community for many whose voices have felt unheard. And finally, we extend gratitude to our arts organizations like the Dorothy Cotton Jubilee Singers, who found creative and inspiring ways to nourish us in the virtual environment, bringing together college students and community members to celebrate the Negro spiritual. Check out their latest virtual concert, For Such a Time as This, on their website. Inspired by the new collaborations and relationships that were built this past year, there are now new and innovative programs blossoming. We are grateful for the strong foundation maintained by our mission-driven organizations and the dedicated people who make them thrive. Undoubtedly, you know someone, or maybe you are someone, who has educated, nourished, rescued, mobilized, fed, or cared for members of our communities this past year. Thank you for your commitment, dedication, and hard work, and for building the foundation for the continued resiliency of our communities in the months to come.
My name is Alicia Canale, and I'm the Executive Director of Family and Children's Service of Ithaca. We provide mental health care to approximately 1,500 people in our community each year through roughly 30,000 visits. And we serve hundreds more through our youth and outreach programs. I'm a relative newcomer to the organization, but when I joined Family and Children's Service just a few months ago, one of the first things I learned about was how instrumental the Community Foundation was in helping our organization pivot in response to COVID. Pre-COVID, we had approximately 40 clinicians seeing clients in our building on State Street. We had front desk staff who were in regular communication with clients. Each of our clinicians used a desktop computer to update patient records in our electronic health record system. When COVID struck, we knew we couldn't stop providing care to our clients, many of whom experienced an exacerbation of their symptoms due to the stress of the pandemic. However, we lacked the necessary tools and systems to continue providing care. As we were in the midst of trying to figure out how we were going to deliver care, George and Janet reached out and asked what we needed. Understanding that resources would be available to help, we were able to start procuring what we required to serve clients remotely. Ultimately, the Community Foundation funded the purchase of 12 laptops, so clinicians would have access to computers that had cameras in order to provide teletherapy. And another grant, in combination with donor-advised funds, allowed us to purchase a new phone system to facilitate better communication among employees who were working remotely. All in all, we received over $40,000 from the Community Foundation through grants and donor-advised funds, without which the pivot to telehealth would not have been possible for us. In addition to the financial resources provided, the streamlined grant application process made a world of difference. In a regular year, writing grant applications can be onerous for nonprofits where staff members wear lots of hats. In a COVID year, it would have been even more challenging, as staff were wading through the complexities of PPP loans and provider relief funding. All of the resources that were poured into FNCS from the Community Foundation and other individuals and organizations changed our perspective. We went from asking, are we going to survive this, to what tools do we need to continue serving our clients given the changed environment around us? I want to give a particular shout out to our staff, whose resilience in this moment has been extraordinary. They've had to learn new systems and tools quickly and have held so much for so many while navigating the stressors of the pandemic as humans themselves. While I'm sure no one would have wished COVID would happen, I think one of the very good things that's come out of this experience is the level of collaboration across organizations in our community. With an eye toward understanding the implications of COVID on this community's mental health, Frank Crippa started convening the OMH and OASIS licensed providers in Tompkins County. With increased communication across organizations, We were able to collaborate more effectively, share information about trends, and better identify gaps in care. This is just one example of the many ways in which people and organizations have pulled together to meet the needs in our community. And it's one of the things that I hope we can continue in the new normal. We've seen what we can do when we pull together. I'd like to express my personal gratitude for the Community Foundation and all the people that make its work possible. Thank you for helping to build a stronger, more resilient, and more collaborative community.
I'm Sarah Knoebel. I'm the director of the Groton Public Library. Being a small rural nonprofit and funds are always in demand and need, I turned to the Community Foundation to look and see what did they offer. And I can't even tell you how many grants we've gotten from the Community Foundation. This year alone, we received 5, and they are transformative. I applied for a spring grant cycle grant for teen employment. I wanted to hire 2 teens over the summer that would help me run the youth programming here in the new area of the library, our new expansion. And we received full funding for that from the Jules Fund and the McPherron Family Fund. And then the Lane Family Fund came and said, would you like an additional $5,000? And I'm like, yes, we'd love that. And they were like, what would you do with it? And the suggestion they liked the best was, we will then hire teen employment in the fall and winter to continue special programming for the teens. I have a room for them, but I need help overseeing that. I can't be there after school every day. So they will help me run that. And part of all this programming I want to do with the youth is to not only connect with the school and help them, but get these kids thinking, some critical thinking, give them, particularly the teenagers, some independence. These grants, it's almost $10,000, will pay youth employment so I can hire youth to oversee this program. During the pandemic, they were the only organization that I know of that recognized library workers as frontline workers, because we never closed. I mean, we obviously had to close for those 3 months when New York State shut us down, but I was still an essential worker. My staff still did work at home. We immediately did curbside pickup. I do a food giveaway every week. That never stopped. We just moved it outside. And the need for that, like, tripled the number of people. An anonymous donor came up, and every employee in the library, 33-member library system, received a $50 Amazon gift card. I'm overwhelmed by the kindness. My staff have just been over the moon. During the pandemic, people have just pulled together. I feel like it's becoming easier for them to ask for help. We put requests in for tents, big tents and sound systems, so that with the pandemic, we could do programming outside in this tent. Janet told us, if you're going to do these, don't go for the cheapest. Ask for the money to buy quality items that will last you a long time. I don't know any other organization that would say that, and that just was like, that's what we always want, but we rarely get it. Usually we have to count pennies and get and take what we can. So to be able to have this opportunity to get really good quality items, and it makes sense to do that, but you don't generally hear that. With their grants, they have a committee of like a dozen or more people making the decisions. And the people on these committees are from all walks of life. They help the little nonprofits. Some of the libraries here, they don't even have any full-time staff. So who writes the grant? Nobody. So it's like this catch-22. They never can get any money, but they can't ever get up. And the foundation is very good at nurturing these smaller nonprofits and assisting them in ways so that they can get the funding and realize it is within their means. And it can be life-changing for them as well. I don't know of any other funder that offers that or does that service. And from my perspective, that's huge. That's life-changing.
How wonderful to spend this bit of time together, thinking back over this past year. My name is Amy Levere, and I serve as Chief Philanthropic Services Officer of Your Community Foundation. During these challenging times, you have continued to respond, and generously. Thank you. Because of you, this important work continues. Yes, our community is resilient, and we do learn from one another. As part of our monthly Let's Talk series, local community leaders share insights from their perspective, helping to inform and connect you to what is happening here in Tompkins County. We have learned more about food systems with Holly Payne, community and neighborhoods with Travis Brooks, mental health services with Frank Krupa, summer camps with Kate Shanks Booth, and so many others. I hope you will join us at an upcoming talk. In our ongoing commitment to social justice and racial equity, we have taken a deeper dive into our own practices, running an analysis of the past 3 years of grant making. Of Tompkins County region grants totaling $5.2 million, $4.1 million employ social justice strategies. 79% employ a social justice strategy in one of these 4 categories: racial justice, rural services, advocacy, and resource equity. We seek to champion inclusion and justice to build more equitable communities in Tompkins County. Together, we can foster community-driven strategies to enhance the quality of life in the communities we serve. This was recently shared with me. A community is small enough to feel known by others, where one has a voice and a degree of volition, but it is also large enough and diverse enough to offer daily opportunity to experience new ways of thinking and seeing the world, a place where we have the opportunity to grow together. I am excited to be on this journey with you.
Hi, I'm Christine Barksdale. I'm in my 5th year on the board of the Community Foundation and currently the chair of the Nominating and Governance Committee. This year's theme, Resilience, really does speak to where the Community Foundation is in 2021. I'm sure that it is not a surprise for me to state that 2020 was a challenging year. It was challenging for not only the foundation, but for many in our community, state, country, and world. The foundation had big plans for celebrating our 20th year, and then the pandemic happened, forcing those plans to change. The organization was able to quickly assess, pivot, and respond. One of the most important changes was the creation of the COVID response grant cycle to respond to the immediate needs of organizations in our community that were affected by the coronavirus pandemic. The review team met almost weekly for over a year, awarding grants quickly and efficiently. Then a number of racially motivated incidents that included the accusations against Christian Cooper, the murders of George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor caused many people in our community to begin to look inward and act outwardly. People across the world wanted to do something. Our community and this organization were no different. The foundation, in the form of the staff and board members on the review team, once again did an assessment and was able to recognize that more diverse representation was needed on the review team for the COVID response grants, and they took action. In addition, a conversation was sparked about the foundation's role in racial and social justice conversations and actions in our community. We decided to start with a facilitated reading and discussion that included both board and staff, using How to Be an Anti-Racist, written by Ibram X. Kendi, as a jumping-off point. As one of the 4 volunteer facilitators for the book read, I was heartened to see the commitment and engagement of both the staff and the board in this project. This particular project culminated with a presentation by Patrice Lockhart-Anthony. During our follow-up conversations, one of the initiatives by the board was to commit to truly becoming a more diverse and inclusive organization. And I am proud to say that the Community Foundation currently has the most racially diverse board in the foundation's history, with 41% being people of color. We all know that there is still more work to do, but this is a beginning, and there has been a clear commitment to centering social and racial justice. So although 2020 is a year that many people would like to keep in the rear view, it helped to spark conversations, and 2021 needed to create the actions that will strengthen the foundation on which the organization is built. making the Community Foundation stronger and a more positive force in the community we serve.
So thank you again for joining us and for spending time with your Community Foundation. We value your connection to the work that we do. We look forward to the second half of 2021 and the years beyond. Thank you.